Up next on Usala Radio, presenting The Wall, a new show for parents and teenagers navigating through difficult topics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Edwin Desamore.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Wall, where we witness achievements through life lessons, live on Usla Radio. Today is a special day. We're going to be talking about politics and young people. We have a wonderful guest, a good friend of ours, and also a mentor to the show, Leslie.
Hey, Edwin.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And also in the studio, we have Janicet. Hi, Janicet.
Hi.
And we have Elijah Dez.
All right.
And we have Chicken Hawk in the background.
Chicken Hawk.
And we have Dylan that makes the magic happen. So thank you all for joining us today. We're just going to jump right into this because a lot of times when we get into these topics, we run out of time.
Yeah.
We run out of time, so we can't play any games. Elijah, topic introduction.
It's already been a long day. On the wall this week is a conversation about politics. We are all lucky enough to live in a free country, which allows us to freely express our own opinions about topics of our choice, specifically politics and people in office. Frequently, however, people are extremely uninformed about politics and do not have the information with which to engage in any opinionated discussion. Some questions we hope to discuss today include: is it important to know about politics before expressing your own opinions? And when should young people start learning about politics? Remember, the end of this show should be the beginning of your conversations. Don't be afraid to tear down the wall.
Remember that the end of the show should be the beginning of your conversation at home. You know, we're going to start it off for you, but we need you to continue this conversation. And it's okay, parents, if you're listening. It is okay to not know. This is why we're having this discussion, because it's about time that when we start discussing it, it's about time we start saying, you know, let me do a little research. Let me get off of Facebook a little bit. Let me get off of social media or the shopping network, whatever it is, and say, you know what, let me educate myself.
QVC.
Yes. And let me educate myself a little bit. But before we get into that, we're going to jump right into random questions. This one is really interesting. If you could make up a new holiday, what would it be? How would you want your holiday to be celebrated? Who wants to take a shot at that one?
Okay, let's repeat that again.
If you could make up a new holiday, what would it be?
And how would you want your holiday to be celebrated?
Yes.
Look, here's what my day would be called.
Uh-huh.
It wouldn't be. Does it have to be a day?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's a holiday, yeah.
It's a
Just
holiday.
one day.
One day.
But you want a couple, how many days is Three Kings celebrated?
The 6th.
The 6th, but it's just one day, right?
It's just one day.
Okay. Any holidays that go on more than one day?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, never heard of one.
Oh, no, the Chinese,
Hanukkah, right?
the Hanukkah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So my holiday would be called Break Week. Just take a break from everything.
That's pretty
Just
interesting.
take a break. Everybody takes a break. You could relax. You could just have fun. Just take a break from everything.
I like
to
that.
relieve some stress.
Yes.
You take a break.
Isn't that called vacation?
Well, it's not celebrated like a holiday for everybody.
It's not
So might as well
that's-
make a holiday for everybody to enjoy, which would be Break Week. It has no religion involved, so everybody could participate. You know, there's no customaries to it. You just relax, have fun, do whatever you want. It's a break.
Well, you know, in Spain, they have something that's called siesta. And so what they do is they work from 9 to 12, then they take a break, and then they go back to work at 3 o'clock, and then they go home, I guess, to work another 3 hours. So they said that the folks in Spain, they don't have a lot of stress because they take a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting
I
thing,
think
but
they'll-
he's saying a break, like how often you want this break.
It could be a day, it could be a week, whatever. But everybody needs to relieve some stress. The world would be way better.
Right. And
without
stress-free,
any
and stress-free.
stress. Think about that, because there's so much tension with all this stress. Everybody needs a break once in a while.
Isn't that in Rome also? Like Rome or a couple other places where folks take this break, but they go home and take a nap?
And, well, that's what they do in Europe. They take naps. They go home and sleep and come back to work.
That's pretty difficult here. That's gambling here in the United States. Somebody take a nap. I don't know if they're getting right back up. You
I don't know.
I know, because at my age, when folks say, hey, you want to step out later on the day, I'm like, let me take a nap first. But then once you take that nap, like, you know what?
You don't want to
I'm
get
coming back up. I'm not coming back out. So I can't imagine taking a break from work to take a nap and say, you know what? You can't tell the boss, I'm taking a break. Jenna said, anything you want to come up with as far as a holiday?
Dollar Day. Everything's $1.
Oh.
Wow, everything is $1. So what is included in that?
The world would go corrupt. In
What's included? We got to have some restrictions on that.
Everything $1.
It's like,
Everything $1.
It's like mega Black Friday. And you know where Black Friday goes. A bunch of fights, a bunch of craziness, wildness.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, that's going to send our world into dark depths.
Ooh.
Hold on, I just want to let you know. My man, does he have a fanny pack on? A champion trying to be a designer? Come on, man. What are you doing to your son? Do you not see this?
So, yeah, I see. You know what? Maybe we can get it for $1 on Dollar Day.
Maybe.
So the question is, for folks, if you could create your own holiday, what would be your holiday? If you could create your own holiday, anybody?
She said $1 day.
What would be included in that? Because you can't buy a car for $1.
But on Dollar Day, you can.
On Dollar Day, you
On Dollar
can.
Day.
Listen, like, if
I'll
You
treat
know how
you
many accidents would
$100 for $1.
this is really a good question and is a segue to what we're going to be getting into a little later on because, when you're talking about politics, when politicians come on board, they have to make decisions, they have to pass budgets and stuff like that. So you're going to get everybody's attention like, yeah, Dollar Day. Then next we're going to be turning around and say, hold up, how is the country
Everybody's
in the hole right now because we didn't think this out? Everything
Right.
sounds good, but is it good?
Exactly.
I'm not saying your holiday's not good because it does sound good. We wish everything was $1.
But is it good?
Is it good?
Right.
Because watch, it's going to reverse on us. There's going to be that certain group of people who bought everything. And then there's going to be that certain group of people who didn't get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we gotta look
So
on
the
that.
point is we got to think through things, right?
Yes.
We have to think critically about decisions that we make.
Because on
Because
Dollar
next-
Day, pretty
no.
much everyone is getting something.
Next thing you know, somebody's going to buy a country for $1.
Well,
And be like, where'd this go?
Wasn't the Louisiana purchase?
It was 15 million.
The
50.
Louisiana purchase?
It doubled the U.S.'s size.
Yeah, off of Napoleon. Yeah.
And the only reason they did the purchase, Louisiana was unexplored, and it was a huge place. France hasn't explored it yet because they were still doing their Revolutionary War, and so they needed money from the Revolutionary War so they could have their country function again. So they sold it to America.
I don't know. I see this kid here as a future politician. I mean, he's
Yeah, I
just
can see it.
unpacking for us what happened and how this process is all. Oh my goodness,
and
I'm
how
impressed.
and the reason behind it because
And the
it's
reason,
easy
yeah.
to hear, oh, they just purchased it for a certain amount of dollars, and I think that's the problem where we're at today as a country. People just feel as though, oh, that's what happened, but why? The question is always why.
Realize how much $15 million could have meant back then.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. $15 million is big now, but you know how much that would have been back then?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tripled, quadrupled. It's a crazy amount.
yeah.
Ah.
Any holidays you go?
No.
No. If you leave it up to him later on, he'll probably be talking about national, some type of pet day type of thing.
Pet day.
You know,
Yeah. Or cat day
Yeah.
or something like that.
Birthday once a month day.
birthday once a month. They celebrate your birthday once a month.
Birthday.
Ed, would you come up with a holiday if you
What's
could?
up, Ed?
To be honest with you, so how you doing?
Yeah, all right.
How's your week?
Yeah,
Good.
great.
To be honest, I don't know. I had to do something with food, like something with food. I had people come together and eat up.
Get a
But
free do-rag with some sour Skittles day.
oh man, always got a bed. I'll let you have that.
I don't know. That's a little too. We can do arroz con dulce day. What about
No,
that?
but hold up. But like a free buffet, like a whole all out.
What
You
kind
get,
of
like,
what kind of
little-
food? Latin
no, I mean,
food,
no, like
American.
Latin food, but you get like the 10-star, 5-star, everything.
Oh,
So think about all that good food.
No.
okay.
Paterillos everywhere, buffet.
Oh, buffet. Okay, for just one day.
One day.
Okay. Every household should have
Yep.
like a buffet.
Yeah,
That sounds
I think I would come up with something instead of like a Black Friday. It would be a Friday where cheesesteaks are like 80%
Bro, you
off.
with your cheesesteaks.
I think you like cheesesteaks.
I-
I
How
think-
about this? This could either be Help the Meek Day or Meek Day. If you don't know what meek means, it basically means the poor. It's a term Jesus used for the poor and the people who really needed and suffered. So I would think Meek Day. Everybody would live in a day of the meek.
Mhm.
One day, everybody would see how cold it is to wear the clothes they wear.
Wow.
And swap,
Basically,
right?
they're swapping places with them.
That's interesting. I like
Yes,
that.
it is.
See,
Yes, it
see?
is.
So
Alright.
everybody could realize what position,
You're gonna be a politician.
like how it really is.
Oh, I see. Listen, I see. a
Well, he
future
actually helped
politician.
ran a campaign
Uh-huh.
at school.
I was a manager for. I still am.
Uh-huh.
I still help. I'm his. You could say assistant. I'm his manager,
Mhm.
and I got him to president of the school student council.
Oh, listen.
So
he
I
can
was-
whip votes too.
I
Huh.
wasn't able to run because of some reasons, but I found a way to participate and make a way. So I became the manager, and yeah, we got
You're
there.
making big moves.
And we have found, well, you could say I found a way, but where we could have 2 o'clock dismissal on Fridays and stuff, and we could also have longer lunches, recesses, just more breaks for kids.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's sort of.
Where you get that from? I ain't get that.
So how the school works? In order to have less time off of something, you have to spend more time on it. In order to do that, so we're thinking, we have to find a way to take an hour off for kids to go home. And here's what I wanted to do: 2 o'clock dismissal on Fridays. Think about the traffic on Lehigh when you have to get out.
Oh, it's brutal.
It is crazy. So many tickets for people. 2 o'clock dismissal. There's not going to be anything. And 2 o'clock to 3. How about for the other kids that can't go home at that time? Over there, I'm gonna be holding. I want to hold study hall. Kids from 2 o'clock to 3 are allowed to go to different classrooms, different teachers that they need help with, that they're struggling with. Either do their homework there, study there, and see, and just see what happens. Get
Yeah.
better help.
And hope
Good
that day's
idea.
not held on Dollar Day because it'd be a lot of traffic.
Look,
in
look,
there.
look, look, look,
I
look.
would like one day, a library day. Every kid for one day, go to the library.
Lock them in.
Just one day for 1 hour,
That would be powerful.
and you go to the library, and have every parent in the city of Philadelphia take their child to the library. Right?
Mhm.
So
You
they
have
can-
the kids going crazy.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of strikes.
Hey, but that would be my
Yeah, library.
ideal day. And why celebrate it? Because information is knowledge, and knowledge is power.
I'm gonna feel bad for the people at the library.
Well, that's
Have to deal
okay.
with that.
Genesis, weekly update.
Family finds owl in their Christmas tree after a week. A family in Georgia bought their Christmas tree at Home Depot, brought it home, decorated it, and then found out there was an owl living in it. After a week had gone by, the family finally saw the bird inside the branches. They left windows and doors open, hoping the owl would fly out, but it didn't. They had to call a local nature center who helped them remove the bird and release it back into the wild. What would you do if you found a wild animal inside your Christmas tree?
I want to take this right away.
Who comes up with this? Who comes up with this?
Yeah. So, we want to give it a shot. Who wants to give it a shot?
I do.
What
I
would
do.
you do if you found a wild animal inside your Christmas tree?
Yeah.
I had experience with helping animals before.
Okay.
You
Because
did.
my
Yes, you
father.
did.
I have saved animals. I have waited in the cold with a pigeon that had a broken wing for hours. Domino's Pizza came before the animal. The animal whatever they're
Rescue?
called.
Yeah.
Animal they came. Domino's. We ordered it after. I called them like an hour before Domino's, and Domino's came before them. So I was sitting out. But if I found an owl, I will not. First of all, I'm not gonna leave this stuff open to let the owl out in the Philly. An owl does not belong in that habitat. That's not even a habitat for any creatures. You see all the stray cats.
Right.
You see everything. An owl will die in a matter of
Right.
hours.
Yeah, he
So
was
you
worried.
will rescue it and release it back to its natural habitat.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
That's a
make
good
sure. I
idea.
get
Yeah, he put a lot of pressure on animal control that day because he didn't want the cats to. The cats were walking around noticing there was an injured bird, and he stood out there in the cold with the bird to make.
Well, you know,
sure.
this really happened to me. No lie. I don't know how this happened, but it happened. I was driving towards New Jersey, towards my sister's house. with my father in the car. And all of a sudden, as I'm driving, I hear a loud noise in the back of the car. And I'm like, what's
Oh my
going on
God.
here? And it was a bird inside of my car in the back as I was driving towards New Jersey. So I had to stop because it was running all over the place, and then I grabbed it and released it to, to its natural habitat. I don't know how that bird got in the car, but it got in the car. But I did release it back to its natural habitat.
I read Diary of Wimpy Kid before. There was a certain thing. It was like the long road or whatever. There was a point where they had like cheese puffs, and there was seagulls at the top of the car. Like there was the sunroof or whatever you want to call it open, and he was chucking them up, and a seagull would catch them. At one moment, he dropped one cheese puff, and all like a dozen of seagulls just came
Wow.
piling to the car.
Through the sunroof.
Yeah.
All right, pretty interesting.
Good
We're going to
stuff.
go to a commercial break, and we're going to come right back with ethical dilemmas. We have an interesting one today as we move towards the topic of today. Parents, once again, get your children in the room with you. And if you're at work together, please tune in, because right after ethical dilemmas, we're diving into the main topic.
Yes.
We're going to have this discussion, so stay tuned. You're listening to The Wall, only on USLA Radio.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Welcome back, everybody. You listen to The Wall, where we witness achievements through life lessons. Only on USLA Radio. Up next on The Wall is Ethical Dilemmas. Eddie Lopez Jr. What's going on?
So you are running for the office of the vice president on your high school government council. You just found out some extremely negative information about your opponent, who is the only other person running against you. It would make him look really bad, or her, or really bad if people found out. He would definitely lose the election if they knew. If he lost, the spot would be yours. Will you use your information to get your opponent out of the election so you can win, or would you let the election proceed without interference and take the chance of losing?
I want to take this right
That
away.
is interesting. Hold on. Let me get Janice. Janice she just had like a cloud, that thinking cloud just came over her head. She's ready to go.
Aha moment. Aha moment.
Go ahead, Janice.
Like morally, I would like do I'll do the second choice of like not interfering and see like if I actually win or not by doing it.
So,
Okay.
but if you lose, you gonna use it against her?
I don't know about that.
Here's what
But,
I'm.
but we're talking about what type of negative information we're talking about. Is it
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
because, you know,
that's
anything can be negative where people make mistakes, but is this something that this person is currently
Something
doing?
extreme.
Something extreme where it'll be a danger to everyone?
No, if it was like a danger to everyone, then I'll like say it. But like, if it's just like random like nonsense, and like that's their problem, not like it won't interfere in one, then I just won't say nothing.
Yeah.
Wow. We hear that, folks? We have some young folks here that have
Yeah.
a moral compass
A
here.
moral compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Elijah.
I was gonna say it in a different way, but like, if I was running, I'm definitely gonna run. But here's what would happen: if this thing could affect, if he's running for this, and I found out something really bad, Like if it just has to do with his life, like something about him that really has no effect on anybody else, and has nothing bad, it's just only for him. It's like a mistake that he didn't pass, but has no effect on nobody else. I'm definitely not gonna say it. Cause what is that gonna that's gonna make it look on you.
Yeah.
You wanna
Fair and square. You want to
inspire
win
people.
fair and square.
You wanna be a good leader. You wanna win fair and square. You don't wanna do none of this dumb stuff, and then you over here calling people out for something they did probably in the past, something that will have no effect on the school, just to make them look bad, so you could have more superiority.
Yeah.
If you wanna feel like that.
That's the problem we have today
But-
in this
Yeah.
country. We're
If-
disrespecting each other
Yes.
and
It is called mud throwing or
Mudslinging?
mudslinging.
Yeah.
Mudslinging is something that politics use, is when they throw hateful stuff or different things up, bad things about the person at each other, so they can make them lose.
Well, here's the other thing. We have, without mentioning names, the President of the United States that uses that tactic to attack people, right? And to demise people. And exactly what you're saying. You know, you have to have a moral compass in this. You can't attack people and throw stuff and mudsling and that just to get your agenda across.
Be like Obama.
Be like Obama.
Obama was, I'm not, and this is my opinion,
That
but
guy-
he was the best president ever. He was fair. He never mudslinged at anybody.
He's a class act. Obama.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was a fair person. He had no trouble with anybody. He helped this country so much.
Everyone has his or their pros and cons.
He never talked about.
well, I wanna backtrack a little bit when we're talking about mudslinging and speak about this now. Michael Vick was not so long ago in the news.
Yeah.
Football player,
Mm-hmm.
and he got in trouble in the past. He for fighting
With
dogs with
dogs, yeah.
animals. Now he
Reformed himself.
He
you know?
reformed himself.
He did
and
2 years
actually,
in prison, I
Yeah,
think.
and actually came out to speak up against animal fighting, and he donated,
Mm-hmm.
and he did everything he can, and even went out and educated young people and just other folks not to do something like this. And you know, he became a productive citizen all over again. You know, in the United States, and when they wanted him to get honored at some type of Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, I forgot the name of it, but people, yeah, the Pro Bowl, and people were just protesting, just bringing his like mudslinging, like you know, like when do we draw the line now? Like
Yeah.
when is enough? Is enough? You know how? Because he has so much talent, and so much to give back
Yeah.
to the world. You know what I mean? And I think mudslinging kind of like takes away from all that, where people have
From
that
the not-
mentality.
yeah.
Yeah.
People make mistakes, right? And the problem is society is very hard when people do make mistakes and they try to repair their lives and get their lives back together and do the right thing like Mike Vick did and others in our community. People tend to be very hard in accepting the change and and that you have reformed yourself. So, you know, you got people that on the one side they accept it, they embrace it, and then you have other people on the other side that are very hard and they don't accept that change.
Do we change that by not slinging mud? Like, do we help change that mentality?
We can be above that, like an Obama, who was always above the fray. Never, you know, he always used to say when they go low,
We go high.
we go high. And so we can practice that, put that into practice, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change how people feel about you one way or another.
Yeah.
You know.
Eddie, what do you think about this?
I'm not really too big into politics and like just in general, but I agree with her 100%, and I agree with him because I feel like, I feel like every president that we say, like, oh, they're the best, oh, they do good for the community. Yeah, we see them because there's cameras on them. There's always someone that's telling. But do we really know what happens in the inside of the White House or just like in general where politics happen?
Yeah.
Because I feel like the whole thing about like the presidents and stuff, like they all have their pros and cons in general.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how we approach it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
You
be
know,
totally
and teaching
honest.
children about politics, and government is so paramount. And I know we're going to have this discussion. Actually, we're going in this direction. I think children need to understand the privileges and responsibility that comes with democracy. so that they're ready to become active participants of society when they get to that point. So it's important, like what your son is doing. And I got to say this, Edwin, and I am proud of what you're doing as a parent,
Thank you.
that you are taking this forum and you're engaging your children and other members of society and teaching them about politics and government and ethical dilemmas and things that we should be talking to about our kids. And that's so important to be able to be an example to your children. You have them here every Saturday at 12 o'clock talking about important issues. And that is very impressive.
No, thank you. And thank you for joining us on this, man.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to hearing your knowledge
Yeah.
on this. Even thank you for even, because to me it's so important. I agree with you when it's important to raise our children to start understanding the background, because we do, and it's not a knock on what you're saying, because we do have a lot of people. I don't get into politics, and a lot of people don't even know what that statement means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you really mean? Like, I don't get into politics, so I don't talk politics. Like, a lot of people don't know this. I really am a licensed barber, and when I
So
was
you can give me a haircut?
Yep. When I was in barber school, one of the things they taught when you have a barber shop is don't talk about religion, don't talk about politics.
Yeah, you stay away from those
You
topics.
stay away for those topics because how heated
Critical.
and it's critical about how people feel about it, and people are passionate about it. So, being is that we're going to jump right into this, I'm going to ask a question to the young folks.
Wait,
Because,
real quick.
okay, we got Elijah does have something to say. When he says wait, that means he has that thought he has to get out.
I want to give my total honest opinion on politics. We came originally to America for a reason. For religious freedom. For not there to be a king above everybody. For not everybody just to be equal. But look where we came again to, you could say the president's a king. We came to that, but it's equal still because of our judicial court and all that. We still have the three branches. But I think I feel like everybody would understand each other way more, and we could work this way better if there was like nobody above each other. The only thing you could be above each other in is like a boss at work. That's it. Yeah, I get that. But nobody above each other. What if we didn't have a president? What if we didn't have? But we have all like the whole America working together on its opinions. Because when we have a president, the president's there for one reason. For those certain people, like you could say Republicans, for what that one thing is that they believe in, but they're not trying to help that whole other side. You could say Democrats and what they believe in. We have to find a way where we could all have that way in, so we could all work together on something that would help us all. Instead, we're all working on something that's gonna benefit one, but hurt the other.
Right. So you're talking about compromise, right? How can we compromise?
I say if we never had a president, if we never had anybody over each other, and you could say, how there's like little towns, and they get together,
Council.
yeah, and they talk to each other, like the whole town, like regulars, civilians, and they talk to stuff, and they vote on it, and they talk about a way that they can compromise. What if we had that?
Instead of a
interesting.
president.
Pretty interesting. That's just something that's put out there coming from a 13-year-old.
Everybody has their
Yeah.
thought put out. Everybody has something that they wish could come true. And we could all finally come to an agreement on something and make this world a way better for every single person.
I just want people to know in the public square, and we're live, these are kids here, 13 years old.
Yes.
How old is your other? How old?
11.
11, and how old are you?
18.
18, and how old are you?
13.
13. We're having these philosophical conversations with young kids on Usula Radio. And it's impressive that we're having these conversations.
When people think kids don't,
And right, that they can't process that stuff. Even though maybe cognitively they don't have the ability to understand complex issues, but they know how to talk about them.
Yeah.
And they know how to process them.
And express it.
And express it. That's right.
well, there's been a lot going on. I'm going to ask this question. I want to start off with the young people, and I'm also challenging a lot of the older people that are listening because impeachment, right?
Yeah.
Impeachment, right? Before we get into the conversation about politics, we need to make sure we all understand exactly what impeachment is, because you hear everybody speaking about impeachment, and this is pretty. I'm pretty so trying to find the word for it, but it's so amused because there are people who do not even know what impeachment
Yeah, they don't
means,
understand.
but they're running around. Yeah, he got impeached. And, people just joined the bandwagon on this. not understanding the whole concept and understanding what goes behind that. So my quick question is, does anybody know what is an impeachment?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
But for the whole thing about the whole Trump thing, it's honestly everyone's like, oh, he's impeached. That literally means nothing. Like for what he did. So it basically, all right. So correct me if I'm wrong, Elijah. All right, because I know you know mainly
I know the
everything.
complete definition.
All right.
I know the complete definition.
So the Congress basically impeached. So the House and everyone, they impeached Trump, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because they impeached him, that doesn't really mean anything. What really means a lot is there's two ways to get impeached, and then you're fully out. Is the Senate and the Congress. The Congress says we will impeach him, but the Senate is Republican, so they're not going to impeach him. So all that stuff that he's impeached, that means nothing. Trump is not worrying about none of that.
Okay.
Look,
but I'm just trying to figure out, what does impeachment
Look,
mean?
look. Impeach is not a full kick out. That is not it. You know, be like, you know what, you're impeached, you're out. That's it. It's not like a fire nine. No, a impeach is to place a federal charge on somebody above, like the president or somebody in Congress or somebody of the branch. It is to place a federal charge against them for them either breaking the law or not doing something right. Treat them like a certain civilian regularly would be treated.
Okay, do we know what he was on President Trump, he was impeached
Corruptness.
on? Well, what were the two things?
It was
Can anyone tell me? Abuse of power?
abuse of power
And what else?
I think they should just say it in the beginning, like
It was
towards
two
the-
things: abuse of power and obstruction of justice. Right?
Congress.
Yeah, that's two things that he was impeached. So 2 articles of impeachment, right? All right. So what do you
Now,
guys?
my question, were there other charges they could have, but they went with these 2?
Only 2, but then it goes to the Senate, and then it goes to a trial, to a conviction,
The
and you
trial.
need 2/3 to actually convict the president of the United States, and that's not going to happen in the Senate. Exactly what you said.
Yep.
Because you're going to have a whole group rooting for you at the end. Because that's the group that you basically came from.
Yeah.
It's going to group that's going to try and save
You're the
you.
one that's making them look good, and if you make them look bad, that's
Exactly.
It's horrible.
This is the second or the third president in the United States that has ever been impeached by
It was-
Congress.
Actually, second.
Three.
No.
Oh, we have a debate.
One hasn't
like I know he's
actually.
about to
It
say.
was Richard Nixon, right?
Richard Nixon.
He was not impeached.
He was impeached. Well, he resigned
He resigned.
before he was going to get impeached.
He was
So
about
he
to.
basically he
Correct.
does not
No,
count as
He was
an
about
impeached.
to.
You're right. You're right about that. You got me on that one.
He resigned.
I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. He resigned, was sent to jail, but then he had the vice president on his side. The
No,
vice
I don't think he
pres-
went to jail.
No, he didn't go to jail.
So see,
He was
now
about
you
to.
stand corrected.
He was about to. No, it was just somebody else.
No, he could have.
He could, but he didn't go to jail. He resigned before all that
It
happened.
was
And
it
he was
somebody else?
pardoned.
Was it somebody else?
What was his
It was
crimes?
somebody else.
Who was the
probably.
first person ever impeached?
It was President Clinton.
Mm.
Andrew Jackson. So Andrew Jackson. Then you had Bill Clinton, and now President Donald Trump. So 3 were impeached. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson, I learned a lot about. He was really.
What was Bill Clinton's
Obstruction of justice.
President Bill Clinton was impeached in 1998, was acquitted, and stayed in office for the rest of his term. The only other president to be impeached was Andrew Johnson in 1868, who attempted to replace the Secretary of War at the time when Congress was not in session.
Right.
Trump impeachment. President Trump is only the 3rd U.S. president to ever be impeached.
That's it.
Congress is alleging that Trump withheld U.S. support from Russia if they did not assist from Ukraine if they did not assist him in finding dirt on Joe Biden and his son.
Right.
If this is true, then he would be inappropriately using his position as the president for political gain.
Yeah.
Impeachment is now a new process, but very few presidents have ever been through this. Do you think impeachment of President Trump will make a difference to his time in office? Why or why not?
Well,
It's going to have some consequences, unintended consequences to this impeachment. Yes.
And the vice president, if he's going to become president, that's going to make it even more worse.
Well, if he's convicted in the Senate, then the vice president will take his position.
Yep.
Will be elevated to president of the United States.
I just would think this show has got me knowing that I hate my social studies teacher, but I realize she has taught me so much.
Wow.
You see that?
I have learned so much. I just realized, and I am surprised I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is pretty deep. The reason I also wanted to talk about this, Leslie, and bring you on board, because we have a community that right now, for example, there are reasons that I know people politically and understand the process of what's going on who disagree and do not like Trump, right?
Right.
But then you have another population that almost irritates me who do not like Trump because that's what they hear or they're going along with the bandwagon. I'm not here supporting anything like that. But if you understand where I'm coming
Yes.
from, you got people just saying, oh, yeah, we just hate this guy.
Yeah.
Or because he might say something or certain things. Yeah, I actually know people, and I'm sure that we know people personally, that what they see out their face, you be like, oh my God, they just didn't say that, but you really know they have a good. I'm not saying he has all this stuff. I'm just saying, but people could see them in a different light, but not knowing why they don't like this person, right? Or what this person's background is. And I get frustrated sometimes because people get into to this realm of, oh, he needs to get impeached, not knowing what impeach means. And then you got people hating this person, not knowing why or what, or not knowing the past of, many other folks who have done worse than he has, right?
I
I'm just it's
Throwing
one
it
of the
out
reasons
there.
I wanted to bring it out there.
think people have to be informed, and they have to get involved in the process. You can't just get on the bandwagon and say, "Oh, let's impeach him. Impeach him because he doesn't like immigrants. Impeach him because he doesn't." No, you have to understand why he's being impeached, what that process entails, and the reason behind it. And why he's being impeached. And I think you're right. I think people need to get a little bit more informed and involved. I breathe this stuff day in and day out, right? It's just I'm a political junkie. But definitely the public square, especially in the Latino community,
Yes.
they need to understand why this is and what this process entails and why he's being impeached. And I think we lack that information.
And now, just real quick, I get very irritated with our folks sometimes because, and we just a lot of people in general who's jumping on this bandwagon, right? So to me, it's easy to point at him and say, that's the bad guy, let's get him out of here. But meanwhile, we're so distracted because in our own community, we have people doing so many things that is hurting us right now.
Right.
We have, we have organizations that are not doing what they have to and taking advantage of our community. We have folks right now that are not stepping to the plate or passing laws right now in Harrisburg that are damaging, or hurting our children or folks are not really paying mind to what's going on.
Yeah.
And my whole thing, and the way you hate this president, or get angry, hate is a strong word, but the way you get angry, want to point out, why can't we look at the injustices that are going on in our own community right now?
And you mobilize people, you know?
Yeah, we mobilize, but we forget to figure out what's going on around us right now, and we're pointing fingers to the top, which we still got to hold him accountable. Like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm all like trying to say, let's not, hate is a strong word. I don't want to hate anybody, but we just have so much going on in our community that is easy just to look at that.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy for us to look at the drug dealer on the corner, but meanwhile, so many things are being passed against us.
Yeah.
Mandatory
minimums.
Yes.
Issues like that. Look, I think that part of the issue is electing people into office that understand the political intricacies once you get into office. It's very complicated to navigate, and it's very complex. And we don't have a lot of Latino representation, neither locally, we only have one, which is Maria Quinones, and two in Harrisburg. And unfortunately, and I'll say this publicly, the folks that we do have, with the exception of Maria, they're limited in their ability to understand the complexities of passing legislation that can push back on these mandatory minimums, on reproductive rights, on all of these issues that do affect the quality of life issues across the board, whether you're an adult or a child. And so we need people that are capable and have the ability to understand, A, legislation, and B, how to introduce legislation that can enhance, impact, and empower quality of life issues in the Latino community. And that we're exempt from. We are missing that type of leadership.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a big void in that sense.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is not, but I want to go back to what Leslie was talking to about impeachment and what it really means, or something. But I wanted to simplify it kind of in a way. You can't, like you were saying, you can't just say this person hates immigrants, let's impeach him. You have to look on that topic and see what that person has done to prove that that person hated the immigrants. If he has built the wall, put kids in cage, which is not all right. That's something you could put charges on him for.
Yeah.
'Cause that's not right.
Well, here's a question for you guys. Can a sitting president obviously there's debate about this. Can he be above the law?
No. No president can ever be above the law, and that was started in America.
Can
first
he
and
be
became
above
here.
well, he can be impeached, but he's not going to be convicted in the Senate. That means he'll continue to be president of the United States. He cannot be a sitting president, but he owns the Justice Department. And he has executive privilege. So, can a sitting president be removed from office?
No.
No.
It's up to you to decide that.
I'm going to be totally honest. Yes, because they're always going to find a way to get him out of office.
Well,
Him or her.
I mean, there are things put in place, but it's kind of like,
There's-
but here's where it gets dangerous. Are people abiding by, because right now they're just defying whatever is law. Like some folks will just be like, no, we're not going to comply with that.
no,
you know?
exactly
So
right.
now we're at a place in this country where people has never, almost like Star Trek, where nobody's have been before. Like, oh, why? What next? Because usually there were people who would comply, respect, and not do certain things. When when we got judges that have to step in,
Yeah.
and say something. Around what age do you believe that young people should get into politics?
I think preschool. Preschool is a good age to get kids. And how do you do that? Well, you engage your kids in civic activities. You take them to places where you can teach them about political things. For instance, you can take them to a political rally. You can take them to the Constitutional Center. You can take them to civic activities that they can see, or even if a parent is involved in any type of civic activity, take your child with you so that your child can see what you're doing and how you're engaging with people and how people are engaging with you. Right?
I was pretty curious walking the neighborhood on purpose before the show. When I'm in the neighborhood, when I was down in the Waterloo community, just West Kensington and different spots, and also in the Northeast.
Yeah.
And I just asked a couple people, just my own little survey, who's the mayor of Philadelphia? And I pretty much asked of all ages. And especially, again, and I'm putting this out there, and I'm not trying to mock, but we need to get our stuff together because our own folks didn't even know who our mayor was.
Yeah, some people don't even know.
That to me, that's like horrifying.
Yeah.
Like we know where the latest nightclub is at. We know what singers coming down in April and May because we know how to get those tickets.
Tickets, yeah.
But do you know who your mayor is? Do you know who your state rep is? Do you know who your council person is? Do you know how they speak up for you, how they defend you? Do you know what policies and legislation they have helped, motivate and pass? So it was kind of like, but now when I started doing this in the Northeast, and I'm not saying anything better, but some folks were more well-informed.
Right. Because parents take more time with their kids in informing them. And, something parents can do, they can create like a voting opportunity in your home. And what you can do is you can hold votes in a family where we want to go to eat, where we're going to play a game, and you take a vote in your house where you want to go, and that teaches kids this process of voting, or even taking your child to the voting booth with you the day that you go and vote so they can see how that process is in display.
I personally disagree with that. I think that our kids, the young people should...
Young people your age, 13?
Yeah, no, not just me. But should be able to learn about politics at the 4th grade, you could say.
4th grade?
4th grade is when I don't think
Chicken hawk is green.
like preschool to 3rd grade. don't want to get your kid caught up in politics
Can
already,
I-
because there is so much stuff going on now. Just try and give them the best childhood they can have, but they start maturing before they start realizing the stuff
Well,
that is happening.
All right,
I'm
before
gonna
we
say
answer
this.
that,
Let me.
Chicken Hawk, you have something to say?
For-
In the fourth grade is where I learned all of the main social studies stuff.
Okay.
Because now I'm just learning about Asia and Africa and
Okay.
jazz.
Okay.
That's it.
That's
But
it.
in fourth grade is where I learned about like the Revolutionary War and all this sort of type
That's
of
good.
different stuff.
Very
Mm.
good. But I'm going to give you some pushback,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why.
This
My
is good,
son-
folks.
my-
Listen and tune in. This is good.
My son Elias is 7 years old. Since Elias was 2, I had Elias involved in everything I did politically. Elias understands who's the president, who's the boss of the United States, because he'll tell you he's the boss. Donald Trump is the boss. He knows the 3 branches of government, and he's in first grade. And I also read him political books. Why would you read your son political books? Absolutely so. I did. You know, there's books that we got into, like the Bad Kitty for President, Grace for President, Vote for Eileen, A More Perfect Union. These are kids' books, political books that you can actually read to your children. I always took Elias to the museums, the museum here on 6th and Arch Street. So I involved Elias in everything I did. I used to take him to work so he can see what I did at work, how I service people, how I talk to people. When I had a press conference, Elias used to be with me at these press conferences and get his mind understanding this issue of service, this issue of being involved with people in community. So I'm giving you a little pushback because my son, he can talk to you some
I know,
politics.
but look. You're giving him the good part of politics.
Oh, the good part.
You ain't. You
This is
ain't
a good
you ain't-
discussion going on right now.
Look.
The
You
good
ain't gonna
part.
talk to him and be like, yeah, this guy you call the boss of America. Yeah, he puts kids in cages and stuff. He does things to people that should never be imagined.
So, what you saying? Young people shouldn't hear the horrific.
They
side?
should not hear the horror of politics until at least fourth grade, when they're getting ready to start maturing. When they're getting ready to.
They're
handle
maturing
these
at 4th
things.
grade.
Huh? When they're getting ready to start maturing. But you know what I mean? They're getting
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
All right, when they're getting ready, I don't think you should start talking to them. I guess you could talk to them about, like, you know, the president, the 3 branches. That's
Branches.
fine because you're talking to them about the different, you know,
Your
stations.
son gonna
You
be
could say.
president. Your kid gonna be president.
My kid's very, when it comes to politics, he can kick some politics. And he's only
Okay.
7 years old.
Wow.
Look,
Yeah.
so it's good. You could talk to them about the 3 branches. You could talk to them about the president. You know, you can show them around what you do. That's
But
fine.
so you're coming from a different point of view. You're talking about. He's talking about really, but then again too, why not speak to young people about what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, like what's going on, right? It sounds horrible, but this is the truth. This is because sooner or later we live in a time today where kids are on a computer. They're accessible to everything. So if you see a picture of kids in the cages, if you see a picture, we need to start having conversations more earlier. So I'm gonna push back on you a little bit. I think we need to have conversations a little bit earlier with our children, because if we don't, that's building up and they don't know what's going on. So they also have to understand why is it important to vote? Why is it important to figure out who's going to be our leader? Because these are the things that happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to educate our children a little
Absolutely.
bit earlier. What can we do to make politics more attractive towards young people that want to know about it? What can we do?
Good question.
Genesis, what can we do?
Like I'm gonna like say like what she was saying. I guess we could take them like to museums and everything,
Wow. Okay.
and like make it like a fun way of like learning about the stuff that's going on. I guess.
Okay.
Oh.
No, now you were saying exposure is everything. Going out to museums and you know, the monuments and understanding the history of politics.
I get what y'all talking about. Like, I agree with y'all. Like, you want to prepare them in a way. But my point is, like, don't, before you put them out into this world of violence and a bunch of corruptness, at least show them some good things. Don't focus them on, you know, politics, what's really going on, why you gotta be careful, what's going on. Just give them something good to look back on.
Yeah, you can
When
teach them
they're-
about the Constitution. You can teach them about party affiliation.
Which
You can
know-
teach them about not religion or political preference, not religion, stuff like that,
I know,
right?
but also, like, at least give them some SpongeBob. Like,
SpongeBob.
don't let them be sent
But
up on
your
this
your whole thing is allow kids to be kids. That
exactly.
should be introduction. Okay.
Kids should
okay.
not be focused on politics at such a young age. I mean, it's good, but kids are kids. They are not supposed to be ready for this at such a young age. There's already so much going on with kids. We have 7-year-olds walking out here by themselves to school. They shouldn't at least be ready. They should have somebody to walk through this with them. They should be at least looking at it as something fun. Don't just be focused and be like, well, one kid's watching SpongeBob having a grand old time. The other kid's talking about politics with a business tie on, all this other stuff. Give a kid
I think you get a little too deep with it. When
Give
we're
a
talking
kid
about
a
introduction, like
childhood
you said
to
again.
know about.
Elias has a lot of fun. Trust me.
Yeah.
This kid is a kid all the way around. He just knows his politics stuff.
I think you're just seeing a little bit too much of the serious side of it and how we introduce it. Ed, teenagers, man.
I know.
Well,
To be
even though
honest
you're
with you-
18 now, like,
I'm a teenager.
To be honest with you, all right. So
yeah, I want to ask you a question. You're 18. The majority of your friends are what, 19, 18,
Yeah.
17? Do you guys ever discuss what's going on politically?
no,
Wow.
we don't talk nothing about that. We don't even get into politics.
But do you guys realize how much this stuff impacts you guys, especially around that age?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, when the voting system, we just be like, all right. Like, we don't really get into, like, in history class, you know, they'll teach us all this stuff. Like, I had a great, listen, I hate history with a passion. But all I got to say is this one teacher, he always made it interesting, fun. Yeah, I remember this word to the end of, probably till I die. It's called laissez-faire. And
Yeah,
it was
laissez-faire.
and he always said, it's like hands off. And it's
Hands-off.
like, and I always remember that to this day. And that I probably think, like, from his class, I learned more things than any other history class. But politics in general, when it's even brought up, teenagers are like, nobody wants to talk about it. There's literally, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know I forget who the mayor is. Because I know who it was for a second, but then I heard that he left and then someone else came in, so I just stopped really worrying about that.
You know what? Leslie, this is scary.
And mind you, my dad's
I'm not
in politics.
knocking it. I'm
my
not-
dad's
I-
in politics, and I don't even.
You know, it's scary to me, like, when you really think about it now. Like, you know, when I was young, yeah, I didn't really know about it or care to know about it. But now that, you know, when you're a little bit older, you see how the world is ran. And I've come across young people who are very savvy and aware of what's going around them politically
Yeah.
and how it impacts them. I think we also have a country today where I think that's the problem now with a lot of, I want to be careful with my words, but you have young folks who have a different way of thinking now. They are more aware of, like, you know, climate change and everything else. They're pushing. So we have another side, it seems like, one reason I'm saying I'm being careful with my words, almost like dying out type of thing, where folks are still thinking about things one way, one track mind. Then you have a younger generation that's pushing now. Like, what's the young lady? She's,
You mean Cortez?
yes,
Yeah, from New York.
yes. I mean, wow.
Alejandra Cortez.
Wow, like, when she speaks, it's like,
With power.
and how young she is.
Yeah, she's 26 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, and she's a force, and people are intimidated by her.
Well, she's a force to be reckoned with, and she stands in her own power. You know, I've been exposed to politics since I was very young. Probably I would say since I was about 3 years old. This is what I saw day in and day out in my household. I've always been in the public eye through my parents.
For folks who don't know, Leslie's father's a legend in Philadelphia. If you wanna,
No, you can go ahead.
Right.
My father was a legend. He was a firecracker. You know, he was one of the pioneers that started this political process for the Latino community through Kensington Joint Action Group, who was here for many years. But, you know, I come from a political family. Philadelphia, you know, I come from that stock. And so when he says how kids can be, I was exposed to politics. I remember, you know, going with my dad and having, you know, when he used to protest and I used to go with him. My father was arrested 26 times for protesting on injustices, on police brutality, on racial injustices. I mean, and I was involved in, my mother ran for political office. My father ran for political office. I ran, so I come from that stock. And so it's so important, I believe, for parents to teach their kids, you know, that
He
this
spoke
process.
up for me when I was in trouble as a kid.
He did?
He, in my case, he was one of the folks that
Yeah.
rounded up and
Yeah.
to protect us when I was a kid.
Yeah. So, you know, being involved, politics is a very, very important part of the process. And I think it should be part of the conversation in the home.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Oh, we're running out of time?
Yes.
You know, you get me talking, so.
No, this is
Good topic.
This is good.
She can
I'm-
go all day about
This
Oh,
this.
yeah,
was
this
my
is all-
favorite topic so far.
But you know
So-
what? You guys are doing great, and I like the fact that you're young and involved in this. And I like the fact that your father is pushing you to think, you know, critically about things and issues. At 13 and at 18, that's good stuff.
I want to.
No, don't look at me. I don't really know anything about
Oh, you know,
politics.
you just,
You're-
yeah, you know.
Well, this is a conversation. This is about who's. This is not about who's right or who's wrong. And the reason we call it the wall is because families refuse to talk about things because they disagree, and people somehow they're afraid to disagree with each other. Right?
Yeah.
They feel as though. So here, folks witness we're able to disagree with each other. You know, we don't have to agree, but we can laugh and we can still love each other. Right? But hear each other out, because it's always good to hear other people's point of view and where they're
Absolutely.
coming from. So I'm hoping that we could do a part 2 of this. We need to do a part 2
Yeah.
of this.
And that's a good exercise to
Ooh,
teach your
we
kids.
doing a part 2?
Yeah, that would
Yes,
be. And
we
look,
have to
that's
do
a
a part
good
2 of this.
exercise where you have kids and you have different points of views, right? You agree to disagree, and you can do it in a respectful manner.
Yes.
And that's part of this process.
Well, I want to end it with the quote of the day. Freedom, a noun. To ask nothing, to expect nothing, to depend on nothing. Andy Rand. As we prepare to celebrate the holidays and the end of the year in 2019, consider what has been added to your life because of freedom you are born with. Would your life be the same without it? Are you grateful for it? Do you think about it? Each of us carries our own freedom with us and makes choices every day about how they will use it. How will you use your freedom today? And how would you use your freedom coming into 2020? Leslie, thank you. I want to thank everybody
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please keep this conversation going. And the only way we can protect our children is understanding what's going on and who's governing over us. So this is Edwin Desmore. Thank you for listening to The Wall, where we witness achievements to life lessons, only on USLA Radio.